Hello everyone, welcome to Diadme IAS. This is our first session in the lecture series on ethics, integrity and aptitude. In the previous lecture, which was the introduction and orientation session, we had discussed about how to create your own examples. I had shown you my own personal examples by taking some screenshots and told you how you can make your own examples and how you can relate general things which you observe in life with the ethics paper. Okay, then I showed you what is the nature of the paper, how we have to change ourselves in order to score better, in order to understand ethics better, right? And that is the only aim, that in the paper we have to perform better. Just to summarize, thinking, we need to think more, we need to develop an aptitude towards ethical nature, right? We need to think about solutions, we need a well formed mind. Please remember this, that in order to attempt the paper well enough and complete it on time, you need to have a well formed mind and not a well filled mind. And this is my aim, that I want to give you some guidelines, some tools, some techniques with which you can score better, with which you can write better and attempt better and get your dream job, right? So next we saw that we have, what is my role in your preparation? According to the experience, we have developed our own ethical prism which we want to teach you, which we have discussed in previous lecture also in the orientation session. So by developing this ethical prism, you will gain wisdom and that will lead to good marks. So this would be my aim, that whenever I discuss something, we would take examples from GS and relate with GS. We can take daily observational examples. You will see the examples which I will take. We can see how we can learn things from media, which I have discussed about earlier. Then we have seen how the syllabus has been restructured by us, right? So philosophy, it has 2 units, psychology, it has 2-3 units, public administration section, it has 2 units, right? So we have seen all these things. So just to recap, I have told you this, all right? So in this session, let's just start with a brief outline of the lecture, okay? Firstly, we are going to start from scratch to learn about idea of ethics and what is ethics. Why we are going to do this? Because as I have discussed it before, that we haven't studied this in our 10th, 12th and even graduation. So the issue is we don't have basics which are clear to us. Although we might understand it easily, but we don't have the basics, and in UPSC it is very important to have clear concepts. Okay, so we are going to start from scratch and give you a clear idea of the topics that we are going to deal with. Then we'll move on to basically a conceptual difference between ethics and morality. This is very important, and we are going to see a lot of differences which will give you a clear idea on how to deal with these two terms. Then third part of the session is we are going to see some basic concepts like belief, then values, then attitude, then behavior, how these things relate with each other. These are important to understand in the first lecture itself so that you have a good base. Alright, first 3-4 units are quite important in understanding how to deal with ethics. After that, it's an implementation part. Okay. Then in the fourth part, we are going to start with our unit 1, ethics and human interface, and in it we are going to start with essence of ethics. We are going to see what it actually contains and we will see it with examples. All right. Okay, so let's start our session and we begin it with basic concepts. All right, so human being do or take a lot of actions. Okay, we wake up, we go out, right? We do stuff, right? We buy things, we sell things, you know. So when we do all this, they create an impact or they have some meaning in our life or meaning in someone else's life. So basically our actions are meaningful. They lead to some result. Okay. So, but the next question comes, where do this meaning come from? Okay. So when we give some meaning to some action, we give it from our memory, right? And our memory comes from basically what we learn in school, what our family teaches us. So we take actions, obviously they have some meaning because nobody does anything without some meaning, otherwise they are termed mad, right? Even they have their own meaning. So actions are meaningful, they have some meaning behind it. And where do we give this meaning from? From our memory, basically our knowledge and experience of life. Okay, so just understand, because ethics is something which is ingrained in every action, which is there in every action. So whenever you take an action, it is ethical or unethical depending on the society you are living in. All right. Another way of telling this is that whenever we take some action, we take some step. All right, that step has a purpose behind it, and that purpose comes from our mind. So these are two ways to understand it. It's okay if you're not able to get it clearly, because at the end of one or two lectures you will understand that how it all links together. We are just starting right now. The issue is these are all a little bit abstract concepts, pardon me. Abstract means we cannot sometimes give them a concrete form. Okay, basically these are thoughts. Thoughts are not something which we can give some concrete form. Okay, like a statue is a concrete thing. Okay, so these things are a little conceptual, so don't worry, I will try to relate it to life and I will show you that also, but just try to relate to the things I'm telling you, then you can relate it on your own. It will become very smooth. All right, but what is the issue, right? In the idea of ethics, when we take some action that has some meaning, but okay, we can give it meaning, but what is the issue with this meaning? That is the main concern. The issue is society is not as straightforward as we would expect it to be. The issue is some person will say something, some will say something, some will say something else. The whole society then goes on to say something else. Like we can see about dowry. Some people, overall society, do not want to do this. Okay, parties at both the sides, from the boy side and the girl side, maybe don't want to do it, but sometimes they are forced to do it due to the societal pressure. So it is all confusing that somebody wants to do it, somebody doesn't want to do it, somebody is forcing somebody to do it. So this is all is confusing. All right. Okay, so basically how will you evaluate your own action? Is it right or wrong, or is it positive or negative? Here ethics help. So basically if you don't have something called as ethics, some concepts called as ethics, you will always be on an hit and trial method. That okay, let me try this might work, or this might be ethical, or this might turn into a positive thing. So basically what society does is, or what ethics does is, it tells you that do this is the right thing, and this is where it reduces the dilemma. All right, we'll see the definition of ethics, but just try to understand this, that you take an action, you need to evaluate it, but do you need some set of rules to do this, to evaluate it? Then what set of rules do you go to? Point is, everybody is saying something else. So what to do? You agree on some common points, and this is ethics at societal level. Okay, so this is a basic flow chart of how ethics affects our actions, or why it is needed. So dilemma is that meaning, let me just read this for you because it is important. It is a basic thing, that meaning system of society is complex, and most of it is not available in the form of shared knowledge. Okay, this is why we were facing the dilemma. All right. Now, so issue comes that we have a dilemma which we just discussed above. Okay, so this is insufficient. This dilemma comes because we have insufficient knowledge. So we are not aware that our action is right or wrong. We should do it or not do it. All right. And why does this happen? Because the whole meaning by which we should be able to judge our actions, it is complex. It is not very clear. This might be getting a little complex, so let me just explain it with an example that there is a doctor, all right, and a patient comes to the doctor, and the doctor comes to know that the patient is a criminal, that the person has done some heinous crime. So doctor is now in a dilemma, and he's thinking or she's thinking that I have 2-3 ways, like I cure him or don't cure him, right? I cure him and call the police, I don't cure him and call the police. So there are some basically ways in which the doctor can take steps. All right, but this is the dilemma, and how to decide the right thing, that is the issue, that is the dilemma, then what to do. Okay, so we are guided by thoughts which we don't think, which comes from outside, and then he or she, the doctor, becomes perplexed that what to do, what will society think. Okay, so we need to understand what are the dilemmas and how to solve them. Dilemma we have understood, right, where it comes from, that things are very complex, how the society will react to it, or how should I react to the situation that I have in front of me. When we try to solve all these things, we enter a dilemma, and like I have previously said, it is removed by ethics. We'll just see it. Okay, so I hope you have understood till now, and with the doctor's example you can easily understand that what kind of dilemmas one can face in life. So we need to understand that when an individual, that individual wants to be rational, fair, okay, so these are all sometimes circumscribed. Basically these are having, people have trouble being rational or fair basically if they have some social or cultural compulsions. Okay, let me repeat it again. A person might have issues in becoming fair, compassionate, rational if by some chance it is he or she is living in a society that does not allow it. All right, so that is what is written over here. The capacity of an individual to become rational, okay, and society to become fair and compassionate is greatly circumscribed. Basically you can understand it as something which is stopped, okay, by deeper meanings embedded in our social and cultural life. So basically society affects how you behave. Okay, so what is the idea of ethics finally? Ethics, like I told you in previous slide, that helps us solve the dilemma of how to behave, because our social and cultural life is quite complex. All right, so ethics rescues us from this dilemma. Now it helps us understand how society lives, how an individual should live. Pardon me, it should be social. Okay, so it helps us understand the complex social life, like here is some dilemma, here is some, sorry, we have a dilemma, right, and there are some issues, then how to navigate this and to reach the right answer or the acceptable answer in the society. Ethics helps us in that. Okay, so clearly ethics is quite important for the good social life, good personal life. Okay, so hence we can also understand that as an individual we should read about ethics, not just UPSC from perspective, but as a person also. You need to understand ethics for the sake of individual and societal well-being. So basically, in a way, you can perform better by understanding ethics better. All right, so you can relate it with your life, like the daily things that you do. You go and meet a shopkeeper, he or she gives you more money, in return, then you are basically the change, right? The money you owed, you get more than that, so you return it or not, as simple as that. Okay, how you talk with people, do you understand that the cobbler who is doing your work might be under some pressure due to COVID-19, right? So sometimes they might not be able to do the work properly or not give it on time. So do you understand, do you show that empathy in your daily life? See, in UPSC, if you deal with a lot of general life concept, or you try to write things that you can relate with real life, they will fetch you more marks, because that shows that you have an aptitude. Like I have talked about in our orientation session, that you need to develop an aptitude towards ethical conduct. Once you do this, once you imbibe it in your thinking, and this is not a one-day process, but as our classes will go on, start thinking about it. That is why I'm reminding you here also, that relate with real life. Okay, and it is difficult for just first 2-3 weeks. After that, it will become a part of life if you just pay attention to my lectures. That's it, because I will constantly remind you about this and give you real life examples as much as possible, rather than giving you some theoretical examples. All right. Okay, so actions, evaluation, here comes the dilemma, and who solves it? Ethics. Pardon my writing, I'm writing a little bit fast. Anyways, so these are the thing, this is the idea of ethics. That is why we should study ethics and know ethics. Although in exam you might say how it can be asked, it can be asked importance of ethics, simple, right? You can at least have 2 points out of this. Okay, all right, let's move forward. Here, before moving on to the definition of ethics, I would like to point out one thing, that here, like betterment of the world, how it can be done. See, ethics have a lot of parts, like professional ethics, doctor ethics, lawyer ethics. Okay, so all these ethics help us understand the way to do the things in the right way. Okay, so from this example, I hope you are able to understand that how it can lead to betterment of the world. So if every professional person performs in an ethical way, then it will lead to better harmonious environment in the workplace. All right. Similarly, if a person is behaving ethically while doing legal work, that will lead to respect of judiciary, right? So that is how we can link it to this. Okay. So moving on to the definition, why I have chosen this definition, because it is given in our official government documents, and it is very simple and easy to mug up. And there are some things which you have to mug it up, and as we promised that we are going to give you simple, easy to understand definitions. So till now I think you have understood how ethics, is relating to our life, in real life, in actions. Now how do we define it in the examination? Okay, this is a very good definition. You can completely mug it up and use it wherever you want. All right. So it is a set of standards that society places on itself, please remember that, which helps guide behavior, choices and actions. As we talked about earlier, that humans take action. And now which action is right or wrong? That will be told by ethics. And ethics is what? It's set of standards, basically rules, or code of conduct, basically code of conduct. All right. Okay, so this is in a more zoomed in way, you can read it clearly and easily. All right. Okay, so basically if we read the other lines in this, so basically it does not lie in having words and expressions as standards, but in their adoption in action. So basically we need to implement. That is why I'm saying that you need to relate the ethical principles or the concepts that I'm teaching you in real life. Okay, and if you violate that, there should be sanctions. Okay, and who will implement those? Competent bodies. Okay, so what will it lead to? It will lead to culture of integrity in life. All right, so this is how you can understand ethics, that okay, this is a set of rules or standards, but somebody should be there to implement it, right? And we should first of all take action based on those standards, and if we do not, there should be a body which should be able to make us do it. Okay, so because and then if you don't take it, there should be sanctions, because all this will lead to culture of integrity and betterment of personal and social life. All right, let's move forward. So ethics has a lot of definition. It is also a branch of philosophy which deals with, what are the standards or what are the rules that can lead to ideal human character. Okay, so ethic refers to branch of philosophy that deals with principles governing ideal human character. We have seen that humans take action, and those actions which are right would lead to ideal situations or betterment of society. So ethics has to promote this action. Okay, it tells us which actions would lead to positive result or right result, or which action would lead to negative result. Like Mahatma Gandhi decided that non-violence is the right way to achieve the independence. So for him, this was, what do you want to call it, this was the positive way of doing things according to him. All right, so this is how we can relate this concept. See, here I mentioned philosophy, but you don't have to read philosophy, you just have to understand that ethics is a subject which is dealt in philosophy. Okay, we are not going to go into depth of that, so that is why I have immediately related to a real life example. All right, okay, let's move forward. Ethics versus morality. All right, so these two concepts are very closely related, and going forward after this lecture, sometimes or what, most of the times we are going to treat them as equal, because they are interchangeable almost, but there is some small differences or subtle differences which we need to keep in mind, and that will help us write better answers. So that is why we are going to study this ethics versus morality in our basics chapter. All right, so let's first see that what are morals. Morals is something which is very personal to a person or a group, right? So it is very simple definition that what is right or wrong for a person or a group. Example, you might be asking, let's say I am a non-veg person, so I believe that eating non-veg is fine, okay, but there is another person who is a pure vegetarian person. They feel that eating non-veg is not good for the body and it is also not morally right. All right, what about group? In group you can say that there is one religious group, okay, whatever name. So there is one religious group, they say that you do not have to do one thing, and if the other group does it, they say that you are wrong. So this action, and this can be anything like idol worship. Some religions don't believe in idol worship, so one religion can say no, this is right, okay, although this leads to dogma, but that is not our topic of discussion. The point is, a person can have morals which they think is right or wrong. A group can also similarly have morals which they think are right or wrong for them. Okay, this you can also relate with communalism. Okay, but these are extreme forms of things which lead to extreme form of things. This is, I am just giving you an example how a person or a group can term what is right or wrong. Okay, and see, moral are beliefs. These beliefs, we will see the definition of beliefs in just a few minutes. Let me just zoom this in for you. Okay, so we will see the differences, but I am just telling that remember this diagram, it will be used later, and this will basically summarize the approach we are going to take between ethics and morals. Okay, so just a second. Ethics are basically external rules, and it may vary between environments, and morals are personal principles, they rarely change. And see, when they both mix, when they have a confluence, here you have right and wrong conduct, because there you can decide, these things decide, this area, these rules decide the right and wrong conduct. Okay, so if we take a simple example, which is actually a very basic example but very important example which everybody can relate with. So the lawyer who defended Ajmal Kasab case, let's take the example of that lawyer. Okay, if the lawyer decides that okay, the person should be given defense or not, that person see, first of all, the government appointed a lawyer, okay, and why it should be done, why it was done, to preserve principle of natural justice and preserve rule of law. Okay, so now the lawyer has the duty to defend the person. Okay, but the person can feel differently, I mean the lawyer can feel differently. So morally that person can be like, oh no, this is not done, this is not fair, the person accused has killed a lot of people, so this is morally wrong. But the question comes of ethics now. Is it ethically right? Yes, it is, because the person, the lawyer, has to follow professional ethics or lawyer ethics. Now what to do? The person morally thinks that I don't want to defend, but his ethics says that he has to defend. So what is to be done? Here I'll give you the example that, or the solution, that here ethics will prevail over morals. And here you have to justify. I will also justify. Justification is that we have to preserve democracy. We cannot be looked at as an autocratic state. Although it might be justified to hang the person, but we have to see that the person gets due, or get due defense. Okay, we follow rule of law. And this is what happened. All right. So basically, for betterment of democracy, we need to, and we had to provide him the proper defense, so that even though that person did heinous crimes, we were mature enough to understand his point of view. All right. Okay, I hope this is clear, right? So we shall now see more concrete differences with which you can relate more. Okay. All right. So ethics, what are ethics? Those are, as we have seen in the definition, set of standards. Okay. They are some rules. They are not something which you can decide to follow or not follow. Okay. These are not something which are made without thought. They are set of principles. Okay. So they help decide what is good or bad, or right or wrong. All right. But you have to understand that morals are beliefs. Okay, they are personal, they have feelings attached to them. Okay, and they also help in deciding what is right and wrong. Coming to the next point, ethics are usually institutional. What I mean by this is, like we have seen lawyer ethics previously, the example. So every lawyer is a part of informal, or basically bar code of India. Okay, so they have some rules to follow. So the bar code of India is an institution. So lawyers, although they have their own ethics, the institution also might have their own ethics. So basically, when you become a professional, you become part of an institution. Okay, like doctors have a Hippocratic oath. So those things you have to follow. Those are rules given to you. Okay, but morals are individualistic and subjective in nature. Like a person will help, a lawyer might help, but might not help in the best way possible. So that becomes individual and subjective. Okay. Now, ethics are, since they are set of principles, they are generally uniform. So basically, taking the same example, this will be same for all lawyers in India, right? And same rules might not apply to lawyers in USA. Okay. So basically, the ethics, they remain same. Okay. But that depends on the society and its level of development. In morality, it may differ from society to society, culture to culture in the same country. Like the lawyer might behave differently in the court and differently outside the court. Okay. So one example that we can take here, that in USA, they have been democracy for close to 200 years. So the ethics that they follow is very close to morality. Okay, what I'm trying to say is ethics is very close to morality. So let's say I'm talking about this point and this point. So in USA, if a person comes and a person is caught basically for doing the crime, so even if the person is the first time offender, he or she will be dealt with same severity as a person who has done the crime 10 times. They will also obviously have more punishment, but it won't be like, there won't be no leniency on the first time offender. Okay, depending on the crime obviously. But in India, a person may be a little empathetic towards the first time offender, because morality here is a little, basically we empathize that no, it's okay, sometimes mistakes happen. Okay, in that way I am telling you. So, but in the end he has to follow the law, because ethics, which makes, uh, if you follow the ethics, it leads to development of democracy. It is good for society. So ethics will prevail. And here I am just giving you an example that a first time offender might not be given the same punishment as a 10th time offender, okay, a serial offender. So this is how morality and ethics play, okay, with each other and in a person's mind. This is how in a society it is very different depending on the development and depending on the relation between ethics and morality. Actions are different, okay. In ethics, see, in ethics it's very important to know that it is based on reason, because these are rules. These are not something which were made by someone thinking about ethics. Oh, pardon me, thinking about emotions. They thought about reason and then came some rules which were defined as ethics. Morals are more emotions based. Okay, so basically, if you are dealing with reason, you will see how a thing is positive or how a thing is negative. Basically, you will see its pro and cons. Okay, so let's take an example of Kasav only. When people were deciding in earlier times about lawyer ethics, so they were deciding, right, that if a person who does a heinous crime and is not given proper representation, what would that lead to? In the positive term, it will lead, okay, yes, that person deserves this punishment, but in negative sense, it will lead to breakage of rule of law. People will not respect the judiciary. It will lead to deterioration of democracy in the long run. So whenever you have a debate between morality and ethics, please try to remember long run. Like fake encounters, although they they do pacify the public, they are good for public emotions, but in the longer run, what do you see, where it is going? Think about it. Okay, so basically morality, like I just said, is based on a little bit of emotions. Where do emotions come from religion, from social interaction, from family values. Okay, and these often inform our ethical decisions. We will study that morals ultimately lead to ethics, okay, of the society. So basically, like here I'll take an example that some religions don't like eating beef. Okay, some people who follow some religion don't like to eat beef. All right, and if some other person eats, they term it immoral, and that is, justified. But point is, I am telling you, it is personal and it is derived from different sources. The source of morals is religion, social and family values. Source of ethics is reason. Okay. Okay, let's move forward. All right. All right. So ethics are basically, like I told you above, they are set of standards. Okay, they are rules which are given from outside to the person. Okay, but morals come from inside the person. Okay, ethics are basically developed over time. They are not something which are given in like 1 month or 2 months. They developed over time. Okay, like years, span of years. Like I have just given example in the previous slide that the where it is, yeah. So lawyer ethics, about deciding whether or not to give the representation to Kasab. Okay, here it is. So this was obviously being discussed somewhere at some time. So they are developed over time and they are not just given in short. They are not basically whimsical. You don't decide ethics on the spot is my point. Morality, it is intuitive. You feel right about something, so you go for it. It's like that. So as an example, we can see that universally we term that stealing is bad. It's wrong. So this is ethics. And like veg and non-veg food preference is moral. Okay, these come under morals. So basically you will see that these are very closely related. Basically in the end, morality feeds ethics and ethics feeds morality also. but there are some subtle differences which I think I've given you and explained it to you. So if in exam a question comes, you can use these examples. I've given you 2-3 examples to explain the differences, right? You can just simply write these one, get marks. Okay. All right, let's move forward. Another thing or another example that we can see is ethics works better in impersonal relationship. Okay, so what is an impersonal relationship? It is something like professional one, right? Like between a banker and a customer. So we'll take an example to understand this very quickly. Like a customer comes to the bank branch manager, and the person is a friend. Okay, so, but the person does not have proper documents with him or her. Alright, so they demand a loan from the bank manager, or they request that please give it to me. I don't have the proper documents, but you know me, we have known each other for so long, and you have given me loan earlier also, and I was able to give it back also on time. So the branch manager thinks that okay, fine, yeah, I do trust this person, I know them, and for another more dilemma, we say that that person is a relative of the banker. Now what does the banker do? So basically either he or she gives the money to the relative, or they don't. Okay, so if they give the money, and if they don't give the money. So if they give the money, what are they following? Are they following ethics? Are they following morality? Which one? Think about it. If the branch manager gives the loan to the relative without the relevant documents, what is the person following from the perspective of branch manager? Are they ethical? What does ethic mean? Ethics are basically set of standards, right? So is the person following banking standards? No, but they're being moral because they personally believe in the person, and they know the person, and it is the person is the relative. Okay, so they are following ethics, sorry, not following ethics, but being moral. In the next solution, they do not give the loan. They say that no, I cannot, because as a branch manager I have some responsibility, and without the due diligence I cannot give you the loan. This would be illegal to some extent, to not some extent, to a lot of extent it would be illegal. So were they ethical? Yes. But were they moral? No, because they did not follow what they internally felt. And the relative would also feel like this. Okay, but we have to remember that there are consequences of every action. Okay, like we have read above, every action has a consequence. So if they are not ethical and they are moral, what would happen? Firstly, if other people come to know about it, they will also start demanding, like, okay, fine, you have done it for this person, please do it for us also. That is a bad effect. Second thing, there might be an inquiry later on or some audit. Okay, and if the person has given a loan without some proper due diligence or without proper forms and documents, that person might be censored. Okay, now if the person has not given the loan, so they have followed ethics but not followed their own morals. So in this, what would happen? Think about it. Effect, what would be the effect? Although the person has followed rules, so he is legally safe, but personally that person this step might lead to some ruin in the relationship, or it might affect the relationship negatively, right? So what does the person feel? Okay, the relative might get angry and storm off and say, oh, don't talk to me now again. But the person would also feel internal guilt, right? Personally the person would feel guilt. Oh, I knew the person, it was okay, I could have taken the risk. But the point is, they have not taken this step, and because of which they feel guilty. This will lead to dissonance, or better yet, cognitive dissonance. This is a keyword which we will read about it. Okay, so that is why I am explaining it to you in this way. So you have to see what are the steps that can be taken and what are the consequences. So what will you do? So this is basically a small case study which I am discussing with you. Another point which is very important, please remember that there are a lot of gray areas in exam, and in lot of case studies you will not find straight away wrong or right answer. You will see that sometime doing this thing also, like morally if it is wrong, So it might be good for the relationship, but if it is morally, ethically right, it might be good for the society. So you have to decide what to do. Okay, and we will see a lot of such examples. So please remember that in life and in ethics, there are a lot of gray areas. So this is what is practical life is. In practical life, there are a lot of gray areas. Please remember this. Nobody tells you this, that in exam you will face dilemma, and that is why many people have trouble solving the case studies at first, because they want black and white answer. They think ethics are, always a good guiding light, but that does not happen, because if you don't understand the difference between morals and ethics, you will not be able to answer theory answers and case studies properly. Because if you are not clear with concepts, the person checking your answer will be able to see it clearly, that you are not able to appreciate the question deeply. Okay, so you have to tell that there are gray areas. You don't have to write it, but you have to deal with all the cases. Okay, all right. So I hope this example has helped you understand how to deal with ethics and morals. Okay, another example is homosexuality. So here is all another example. See, I am giving a lot of examples. Please note them down. Okay, whatever you feel is important, please take a note or take a screenshot. Whatever you do, please take a note of this. I'm trying to give you a lot of examples, which was what I promised during the course introduction. I will try to relate every abstract concept with some example in your real life, which you see. Okay, so in homosexuality, how it is debate. Personally, you might feel this is unnatural. Okay, I'm not saying you do, but just some people do that. See, in ethics, and what will that lead to? That will lead to discrimination. Okay, prejudice, and all these leads to, see, morality. For a while you might see, okay, fine, this is fine, it's my own opinion, it is not affecting anybody. But point is, if many people feel like this, it will lead to discrimination and prejudice towards the third gender, right? And this will lead to what in the longer run? Their rights will be restricted, their freedom will be restricted, their legal rights might be restricted. Okay, and all this is wrong according to ethics, because in the eyes of law, everyone is equal. All right, so this is how you study a topic. In morality, what you feel about it; ethics, in what society feels about it. Okay, and or what are the good rules. Okay, so I hope you have understood. Okay. All right, so just to summarize, ethics are set of standards, right? And morality is more of an inner feeling. Okay, and whatever you follow, it has consequences, as we have seen ample examples. Okay, here we have seen a proper case study wherein you can judge that if you follow morals, what happens, if you follow ethics, what happens. So basically, there are consequences. There are actions and there are consequences. Okay, so try to understand it in this way and try to remember the difference also in this way. There are many points that I've given you in a very easy language. Okay, there are my own notes, so please try to understand it with examples. All right, so let's move forward to the next topic and next section of our session. Snapshot of our thought process. How do we think? How do we believe? And what affects our actions? We are going to study that right now. We are not going to go into the detail of every concept, but because we are going to deal with them, they have separate sections later on. Right now, we are just going to understand how in basic terms it affects our relations. Okay, affects our actions. All right. All right. So first we'll come to belief. Okay, belief is something which we hold very dear to ourselves, which we find that it is true. In Hindi, if I say, ये मेरा विश्वास है. Okay, this is something I believe in. It doesn't matter if it is rational or irrational. It is a belief. Like some people are afraid of dark. For some people that is rational. For some people that is irrational. Some people believe in God. Some people don't believe in God. Like some people also, belief का एक political example if I give you is something like अच्छे दिन after the Modi government. Okay, so these things are beliefs. Okay, they can be rational or irrational. Okay, belief in God, like I just said. Okay, so let us understand first the definition of beliefs. So it is what we hold to be true. It is what is dear to our heart. Okay, it might be true, it might not be true, it might be rational, it might not be rational. All right, so like I said, it might be true and it might not be true, it might be rational or irrational. Okay, here word will come rational, and it is an internal feeling based on experiences. Okay, so examples are belief in God, life after death. Okay, and why these are building blocks? This is important because these are the most basic things by which we start thinking about things. Okay, these are like bricks of an house. So this belief, this belief, this belief, these are like building blocks of our mental process. By this, we feel right and wrong about something, true or false about something. So this will lead to our action. Okay. Now, there are some beliefs which are true and some beliefs which are false. It doesn't matter to us. We believe in those things. Okay. But what about truth? What about knowledge? Where does this come from? What is, see, like I told you, beliefs are basic building blocks of our thought process. Okay. So in the end, we want knowledge, right? Whatever read, whatever we think about should lead to some knowledge. Okay. Now, what is truth? This is factually correct. This is a fact. And whatever is common, some beliefs which are true become knowledge. So knowledge is true beliefs plus, or basically true beliefs. Knowledge is beliefs that are true. Simple. All right. So this is the relation between belief, truth, and knowledge. All right. Let's move ahead. So there are two types of beliefs: peripheral and core belief. Okay, peripheral beliefs are basically these are, you can call it as temporary. Like if you visit to some country and you find people good over there, few people, so you will say, oh yeah, they were very good. Like you went to Japan, you said, okay, people are very formal and very good and they're very helpful, right? So if you, oh, okay, so the relation and the core belief is something which is very dear to you, right? Something which has emotions attached to it. Temporary belief is something which is temporary, like it stays for a month or a day or a two, or for a month or two. Okay, and then you forget it. It's temporary, it comes and it goes. Okay, if you are feeling good, you will like to, you know, go out and meet people. That is a temporary belief. Okay, I'm feeling good, going out is good. But sometimes you're feeling not so good, or you're feeling a little down, then you don't want to go out. Then you're like, nah, there is no fun in going out. So these are peripheral beliefs. Core beliefs, when emotions are attached to it, they become, sorry, in peripheral belief, when we basically experience them again and again, okay, plus they have strong emotions attached to it, they become core beliefs. Basically, let's say you like, basically some people are afraid of water. Okay, they have some bad incident in their life. Basically during childhood they might have accidentally come closer to drowning, so they become afraid of it. So that becomes core belief, that their water is bad. Okay, so core belief does not change very easily. It becomes a part of you and it affects your life. Okay, so basically peripheral are very temporary, and if you visit them again and again, it becomes core emotions, sorry, core beliefs. Okay, so basically if I give you another example, that if from childhood you see that in your family women are treated well, so you will start believing in equality. Okay, but if the family is a bit patriarchal, okay, then you will see that you will develop a patriarchal belief. Okay, but the core emotions, become, pardon me, the core beliefs become values. Now what are values? Values are something which help us decide. Okay, they make us, basically they allow us to make choices. Values are something which are long lasting beliefs, and they help us choose something between right or wrong, or between what I'll feel good or bad. Okay, all right, so let's see what are values. Values tell us, or values are something which are important to us. Okay, like there might be a long lasting belief that I believe in women equality. That thing become my value. Okay, and that is what helps us choose between right and wrong. So if somebody is not being basically not providing equal value or equal rights to women, we understand it as wrong, we term it as wrong, and we then fight for it. No, this is wrong. A woman should also have right to choosing a career. Okay, so basically values become standard of human conduct. So if we try to understand this in a bit more detail, we can see that capitalism thrives on the value of liberty, that the person should be free to pursue their potential. Now, liberty is the foundational value of capitalism. So once you focus on a value, it develops into a system. It develops into what I said, standard of human conduct. That is why you must have read in the newspapers that we need value-based education. Why? So that when people have good values, they have thoughts like liberty, justice, equality, fraternity, okay, then against social evils like casteism, untouchability. When people have this value, it will be better for society, no? So you need to understand that value based education or values, which are very important as they affect human behavior deeply. All right, okay. All right, so we have seen beliefs, right, and they lead to core belief. Please follow the red mark. And once you have the core beliefs, they lead to values. Now the values lead to attitude. How they will lead to attitude, we will see in the chapter attitude, because if I start explaining this relation, it will take a lot of time. And here we just, my aim to describe this diagram is that you should be able to see that okay, these terms have happened in the course sir has taught us, so we should maybe read up on it or just revise the lecture. So these are the basic terms which are going to be used again and again in the chapters, and you will be able to relate with them more slowly. Okay, right now you can just remember the diagram that beliefs, core beliefs, values, attitude, behavior and beliefs. Okay, this is a circular cycle. Okay, now attitude is something which is our tendency to do something. All right, that basically if we are patriotic, or what should we do, right, how should we approach things. Okay, like let me take an example. Basically patriotism is a value. Okay, then what is the attitude that will come from it? Think about it. Patriotism is the value, what will the attitude that will come from it? If we follow our preamble, we can easily say liberal, tolerant, justice, equality. Such things will become our attitude in dealing with our citizens, and this will also reflect in our behavior with people of other countries. Okay, so basically our belief system leads to our attitude, as you can see. Okay, all right, so this attitude, now I just told you that you will attitude is a tendency to do something, right? So you will have a tendency to be liberal, tolerant, justice, equality, you will promote equality. So that will lead to a behavior, certain type of behavior. Okay, now behavior, when you behave something and you find it right or wrong, you give that feedback to yourself, and then it affects your beliefs. If you keep doing something again and again, it leads to good result, you will develop a belief that yes, it is a good thing, then it develops into a core thing, then it leads to value, and then that is how this circle is created. Okay, all right, so we'll just see an example of belief, values, attitude, behavior right now. Okay, all right, let's see this by two examples. Okay, first let me say that for an example that I believe in Jainism. Okay, so this is my belief. We come down one level to values. What are the values that will come from this? Can you think anything? Do you remember? Like Jainism has 5 rules, right? One of them which is non-violence, non-stealing. Okay, all right. So from this we create an attitude. Attitude of what? Not harming people, not taking what is not ours, not taking, basically not stealing. Okay, and in behavior, what do? You must have seen that some monks have masks on their, they wear masks all the time so that they don't even inhale some small insect. In extreme form, they do not even, uh, perform or take agriculture product. So because they believe that during agriculture, a lot of insects or a lot of basically jeev jantu are killed. All right. So this is how it develops. Let's see another example. Another good example which I would like to quickly go over with you is, let's say some people have value that men are better or stronger than women. Okay, so how will it lead to what this is the belief. Okay, how will it lead to, let's say, values? What type of values will come? Patriarchal values will come, right? After that, there will be a value of taking marriage for money, which is dowry. Okay, then a value of dominance, that you are stronger, you are better than the female sex. Okay, what is the attitude that will come from it? Attitude is how you think about something. Okay, so attitude will be like, if you see a working woman, you will see that how is she working, why is she, why, how are they allowing her out of the house. Then you will think that how or why is she earning, more than me or same as me, she should not earn the same as me. So these are all mental attitudes that will come up. And how it will affect your behavior? Okay, here I would like to point out that we will learn a lot of, we will see a lot of examples by to learn how attitude affects the behavior. Okay, so behavior, what will it become? Can you think anything? Economic survey said son meta preference, right? So son preference. Then there can be, or there is sadly, violence of many kinds, domestic violence, okay, sexual violence, marital rape, okay, then sexual harassment at workplace. So this is a very, basically it feeds into each other. It's a cycle: belief, values, attitude, behavior, and this also affects the belief. So please remember these two examples, right? This way you can relate with the cycle more easily. Okay. Okay. All right. So we come to the end of our discussion of basic things, wherein we have seen some basic definitions and we have tried to understood where ethics come from, what are the value of ethics. Okay. Now also we have seen differences between ethics and morality. Now we will start with the first unit. We will see some basic concepts also in this. Okay. All right. All right. So before starting, I would like to point out two things. That first is, ethics is quite relative. Okay, these concepts are quite relative. Ethics is very contextual. It will depend a lot in the situation you are. That is why in case studies, they'll ask a different type of case study every time. Okay, they have a lot of case studies. So basically you have to remember that ethics is relative and contextual. Second thing which I'd like to point out, that ethics exists whenever there is some human interface. That is why the topic is named in such a way that if you are in isolation, ethics won't exist then it is just morality. When you interact with one person, okay, you and another person interact, then ethics come into play. Okay, so we are going to study what is ethics, what are the determinants, consequences, okay, how, okay, it's on the next slide, how it leads to, how it is affecting personal and private relationships, right? What can we learn from great thinkers? Then what is the role of society and family in giving us the values, right? How, telling us how to behave in the society. All right. Okay. Okay, so here I would like to just give you some keywords, point out essence, determinants, consequences. Okay, dimensions, private and public relationships, lessons. Here we will not go into very deep, we will just see the ethical angle, and I would be giving you a lot of examples which you can directly use in unit 5 and unit 7. Then we come to role of family, society and educational value in educational institutions in inculcating the values. This you can relate to some topic which I will just tell you, that at many places you might be finding that there is a decline in value in India. Okay, many news article frequently tell it, and I have explained you or told you before that we need value based education. This can be a very general answer. Basically you can use this in a lot of answer, what I am trying to say. Okay, all right, so let's move to our first topic, which is the essence of ethics, and this will also be the last topic for us in this session. All right, so essence of ethics. All right, so first let us try to understand the meaning of word essence. Essence is something that is at the core of anything. Okay, like let's say, what is the essence of being a human? All right, it can be said that it is soul, that you can think and you can change, right? Essence of let's say, what is essence of democracy? What is it? Right to vote, we can say, right to get elected. Okay, there are some basically rule of law. Okay, there are many things, but I'm telling you essence, like essence of basic structure. It is an evolving definition, right? So such things you can relate with. Essence means something core, by without which you cannot understand that thing, by which if the core is not there, if the essence is not there, some concept will become something else. If democracy does not have, basically let's say, rule of law, what will it will become? Dictatorship. Okay, so basically essence is intrinsic feature or indispensable property. That indispensable means without which something cannot be what it is actually is. Okay, so features that have such property for ethics, we are going to read them. All right, so let's move to the first property. Ethics cannot be shaped in isolation. What do I mean by this? Like I told you if earlier, that in isolation only morality develops. Ethics come into play every time you interact with any other human being. Please remember this. Okay. So basically it means that it cannot be shaped in isolation. So people do not have it from birth. Ethics is given once you live life. Okay, you live in a society, you become part of a society, then you get inculcated with ethics. All right, so we have understood this part. Okay, now let us understand what is called tabula rasa. It is a concept given by a philosopher, which means that we are born with a blank slate. Basically our mind is blank when we are born, and whatever we learn it during our life and during our interaction. So our mind is blank, it does not have ethics. So during the life, when we interact with people and we see pros and cons and we document things, then we develop what is called as set of rules, which is ethics. For example, lawyer ethics, which we have discussed earlier, right? So I'm taking this example again and again because you have, so that you can relate it with different concepts. Okay, so it cannot be shaped in isolation and we develop it during our life. Okay, so this is the first essence of ethics. Let's move forward. Here, if you want to take another example, we can say that while we interact with other humans, it becomes societal ethics. While we interact with machines, we see AI ethics are developing now. Okay, when we interact with animals, we can see that how to deal with Jallikattu. Okay, so animal ethics will include this, machine ethics will include this, human ethics will include this. Okay, so these are the examples. All right, I hope you have understood this. What is the essence, right? So this is a basic English concept. Let's move forward. Okay, so man is not only the product but also the producer of the culture. So here I would like to show you a little diagram. So man or an individual, let's say gender neutral term, an individual is also the product and producer of the culture. So let's say this is the culture or our society. So when we are born with a blank slate, the society affects us by its agents. Agents of what? Socialization. Society affects us by its agent of socialization, which are friends, families, relatives, school, and so on. Okay, and our general interaction with the public. So these are the agents of socialization, and they affect a individual, and they develop the individual's social interaction or social principles. Now, if the individual becomes strong enough, okay, they can affect the society and change the society. And who does this? Here, agent does it, right? And here, leadership, or basically very strong leaders are able to change the society or the culture which they live in. You can easily think of an example. Mahatma Gandhi, he changed the way of basically achieving the independence, right, by non-violent way. All right, another example we can take is T.N. Session. He changed the election commission, or he made it so robust that it was able to stand its own ground and basically ensure free and fair elections for decades. It is still going, it is still going on. The changes he brought, they have been able to protect our democracy, and that is not a small statement. He has basically protected our democracy by ensuring free and fair elections. So see, this is another essence. You can relate it with essence. So free and fair elections are essence of democracy, and T.N. Session ensured it for years after, even if when he retired, even after that those principles are being continued, which were implemented by him. All right. Okay. Now here we can see that ethics is, next essence is, ethics is contextual. That is, it depends on time and space. Okay, like it will be different in India, it will be different in USA, it will be different in Europe. So basically what I am trying to say is their ethics might be different in developed countries and in developing countries. Please excuse the short form, right? So ethics is contextual. Let's take an example like I've taken written over here is littering. Okay, it was acceptable, right? Before, let's say, and a landmark time came when Swachh Bharat Abhiyan was launched. So let's forget Swachh Bharat Abhiyan for a second, and we try to remember the time before it, that littering was totally acceptable. Basically what it meant was societal ethics were not having littering as a bad thing. So our ethics were not developed, and hence morals were also not developed. So basically people didn't feel bad while throwing stuff, so they did not think that we should stop others also, right? But when Swachh Bharat Abhiyan came, it focused a lot on cleanliness, right, and open defecation, right? So in Swachh Bharat Abhiyan is a very good case study in the CAB model of attitudinal change, right? As we have discussed, okay, I don't think we have discussed this before. So in the CAB model, we can say that cognitive, first part is cognitive, which is reason based. Okay, in reason based, WHO we can include like WHO said that you can save 62,000 per year in medical expenses or something, right? So we provide them logical reason, right? And government coined a term Izzat Ghar, which you can also use in your example. So one tip over here, that please try to use keywords which are used by government in your answers. It will give them a little different outlook, and that will also explain that you are aware of what government is doing, because you are aiming for a civil servant job. So 62,000 can be saved, and government also said that this will be a Izzat Ghar. Okay, now the affective part, which is emotional part. Okay, here you try to change people's emotions. How you can do it? You can link it with women dignity, safety, right? So there are many women who denied marriages because they said the toilet is not available in my to be husband's house. So this is how you link it with now behavioral aspect. This you affect by basically, let's say, by building toilets, by providing funds for the toilet. So in very brief, I've discussed the CAB model. We are going to discuss it in detail, but I'm just telling you that how Swachh Bharat Abhiyan implemented this model. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is things are contextual. The things for which we had to do all these things, they are not even there in USA, let's say, or Europe, basically the developed countries. And even in many non-developed countries, open defecation is not there. Okay, so it's matter of societal ethics. Okay, all right, let's move forward. Ethics operates at different level. Pardon me, this won't come here. This means that it is not just the individual, right? It also affects. Okay, so it operates at individual level, societal level, organization level, and international level. We will see all this when we study consequences of ethics, that at what levels it operates. So one of the essence of ethics is that it does not just apply to individual, it applies to society, it applies to organization you're working in, it applies in international relations also. All right, okay. Coming to the next point, see, when you are angry, don't you see that you behave differently, and when you are happy, you behave differently. So here the point is ethics are subjective, right, and they depend on different situations. If you're happy, you'll be more empathetic, right, more confident, more compassionate. But once you, well, not once, but if you're angry, you will change those attitudes. Okay, we'll see it later, but the point is ethics are subjective in nature. You have to remember this. Things change. Ethics are contextual also. I have mentioned this before. Please remember this. This is quite important. Okay, all right. This is quite let's say crucial concept. All right, why we are relating it with justice, right? So here I would like to tell you that ethics originate from sense of justice prevailing in the particular society. Okay, let me explain this. See, the point is, okay, best thing is to explain it via an example. So we will take child labor. Right now few NGOs are working for this, okay, but if you see that people in India are generally a bit ignorant towards this. We don't file a complaint immediately when we see a child working, okay, and we affectionately call them chotu. Okay, although this is a bit derogatory, but point is you have to write this to make the answer a little emotional. You can also use this in essay, right? So basically it becomes a little informal, but that will also give your answer and essay a little different look. And as I've told you, you have to relate ethics and essay to real life, so to make it more personal, to make it a little different, and not, you know, you should not, the answer you are writing should not be basically a bookish answer. Okay, so basically few people are working towards, you know, removing or eradicating child labor, but some people are okay with it. Basically, even I'm not saying that everybody is okay with it, but we ignore it. Okay, why we ignore it? Now that's the question. Because societal ethics have not evolved to such a place that everybody is revolting on the side of child labor, that we are not hating the child labor phenomena equally right now. Some people are hating, some people are not hating. Okay, another example we can take is sati. Before the time of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, it was widely accepted, right, and widely it was practiced. But after he fought for it, it was made unethical and illegal, and right now it is totally banned, and you just don't hear any cases about it, right? So the time, it has taken time to change it. So time has changed. So in particular society, depending on the time and space, right, ethics change and evolve, and that evolution depends on the justice presently. So here, how was he able to do this? Because he questioned the status quo. Okay, he questioned why we are doing this and why should we do it. he questioned that this is wrong, this is giving somebody pain. So basically this was sense of justice in Raja Ram Mohan Rai that made him question it and fight tooth and nail the concept, the practice of sati, and that has led to eradication of it from India. So basically we need the same attitude towards child labor and other issues that are prevailing in our society. Let's move forward to the next concept. Now here we need to understand that ethics, they are not always to be maintained by some external agency like Central Vigilance Commission or Supreme Court. Okay, they need to come from inside, that I want to be ethical. That is a sense of responsibility that should come from inside. Basically this is the A part of the CAB model. Okay, affective, the emotional part. Basically Gandhiji said that, I am going to use a Hindi term here, Hriday Parivartan, that the person's heart, the person's emotions should call from inside that please don't be unethical. Okay, be ethical. So ethics are maintained and sustained, means for long term, by a sense of responsibility and not just accountability to some external agency, but also something within. We have seen in the second ARC definition that the external agency should be there to hold us accountable. But the issue is, okay, let's take an example, two examples here. Okay, so let's say see the banker's example again. Let's say if there is no audit agency, should the person do it? If the person is, you guessed it right, if the person is unethical, then he will do it. If the person is ethical, if he or she believes it from the inside that I should not do it, they will not do it, even though the audit agency is not there. Okay, there is a famous line that people say that, you know, nobody's looking, why don't you cheat in the exam? Okay, so the person replied that I will know, my conscience will know, my antaratma will know. Okay, so this is very important, that andar se, from inside the voice should come that I don't want to be unethical, I don't want to cheat. Okay, I don't want to lie to somebody. Okay, another biggest example that we can see is corruption. There are so many laws, right? Supreme Court, CBI, CVC, there are so many agencies, but still corruption is there, and not even in small amount, huge amount. We all know this. Despite so many laws, rules, agencies, right? We have so many things to make people accountable and make them corruption free, their actions, but still it is happening. Why it is happening? Because internally the ethics have not transformed us yet. Internally there is no realization that it is wrong. Okay, all right. Okay, so this brings us to the end of the lesson. For now, what we have seen, let's just summarize quickly. All right, so the idea of ethics, where do they come from, how they relate to our action. Okay, we have seen the best definition that is available from government sources. All right, we have seen the differences between ethics and morality, which is quite important. I have given you a lot of examples. Please relate the definitions with the examples. Okay, how we think, these are the basic concepts which you need to remember. Please do revise them. Okay, we have seen how they affect each other. We have seen the development of our thought process. We have seen two good examples on that. Then we have started with the essence of ethics. We have seen what it means to be ethical and how ethics basically have the features. What are the features of ethics? Okay. All right, so I do understand that concepts are a bit abstract. Okay, because ethics is something quite different. We don't deal with the concept part of it in our daily life, right? But we also deal with the application of it in the daily life. Okay, so concepts might be a little abstract, don't worry about it. Just revise it after a while, after a week, when we'll be done with 2-3 lectures. Please revise them together, then you will form a chain. There will be a link formed of concepts, how one concept relate to another, how two relate to third concept, how one relate to third concept. Okay, so you will be able to relate. So please revise in UPSC it is extremely important that you revise, because in examination you will not have much time to think. So you will write what you actually believe in. That is why UPSC asks large amount of questions in just 3 hours. Okay. So in the next class we will see determinants of ethics. We will see consequences of ethics. Okay, and we will see a few thoughts of thinkers and so on. Okay, all right. So for the answer writing part, I would like to invite you to think on this. Okay, and come ready with your answers. I will discuss in the first 10 minutes what is the, basically you can write model answer. It will not be the perfect answer. I'm telling it by my own because I don't want to lie to you, but it will be a model answer. I will include all the aspects. You can pick and choose whatever you feel right and whatever you are able to remember. Okay. All right. So how you can approach is this right now. Don't think too much. Don't focus on time at all. Okay. Take your time, take 20 minutes, take 30 minutes, because this might be the first answer you are writing for ethics. Although I have discussed things with you, this is a little applied question. Okay, it is not straight away asking you ethics or morality. It is asking you the relation between them, and we have discussed it. If you go to the differences and if you take the example, no, you I'm giving you a hint. Take an example from the things that I've taught. From there you will be able to understand that how they come in conflict. And see, here I've asked you example from your own life, so please remember that also. Don't use the example that I've given. Okay, so take your time, develop structure, divide the answer in parts, and then try to write it. Then we'll discuss some ideal or model answer or points in the next lecture. All right. Okay, so thank you everybody. That's all for this lecture. I hope this was a learning experience for you. We have discussed some abstract concepts. I understand. Don't worry about it. You will be able to relate it with your life. I have given you a lot of examples. Please focus on them. If you have any difficulty, please post it in the comments. We'll address them to the best of our abilities. All right. So please develop an ethical prism, develop structure, okay, and then revise. Whatever you have read today, please revise. Okay, it is extremely important. All right. Okay, students. So we'll meet in the next lecture. All right. Bye bye everyone. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your patience. Bye.